Hey, this is Carrie Canary Quilts, and this is week 35 of the Dear Jane Quilt Along. Look at this color quilt. There is very little blank space left in the center here, so this is really getting awesome. And we still haven't filled out a row yet. I don't know if we will this time or not. I'm not sure. So if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You'll get notified of Dear Jane content and all the other fun stuff we got going on here. If you're here for just the construction of the blocks, I do have those time codes in the description down below. You can jump forward to the blocks. I am going to talk about the Dear Jane add-on like I do every week and how I'm using it and go through some modifications or any of the block variations. So you can stick around for that also. So first I want to add my blocks to my color chart here. And this week we have B11 Melissa's Cross and C4 Tic Tac, C5 Eye of the Cyclone, variation 2, and H3 Berry Baskets, that's what it is, and BR9 Sue's Garden, and we need to rotate. All right, we have kind of some interesting blocks this week. I'm going to talk about a few of these and how I'm doing them, and let me know what you think, if you're going to do it that way or not. So let's just get into it. Let's take a look at these blocks over on the block work table. So our first block is Melissa's Cross. And if we go to, so obviously we can't foundation paper piece the curve. So if we go to foundation, you can see that it's pretty much 4 corners in this strip right here. So a few weeks ago, I showed you how I just ignored this curve and I put a triangle over here. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ignore this piece right here. I'm going to add a triangle to this part right here. And then I'm going to put my applique piece. This curved piece will be an applique piece. So this is what it looks like. So when I'm putting together this piece, I will ignore this section right here, and then I will print out the template and then add it in later. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me know if you're going to do that or if you're just going to piece that curve in there. So we need, for me, I'm going to do that, and I can get rid of all of these except for one of these pieces. So I just need that piece to add an applique in at the end. So that's how I'm doing this block, because I really am trying to not piece little curves, even though I've had to do a few. I'm just trying to stay away from it. All right, next block is C4 Tic Tac Toe. So I am going to modify this block. So if we take a look at the foundation paper piece, oh, look at all those colors. Tons of Y seams. So if we just add a line in all 4 corners right here, that should take care of most of our problems with the Y seams. So let's go back to drawing and do that. I'm going to add a line right here in all 4 corners. And now let's go back to the foundation paper piece. Not so many colors. And we still have a Y seam right here in all 4 corners, but that is manageable. It's a bigger piece and it's a right angle, so I don't think that'll be an issue. We've done it before, and like I said, it's not a small Y seam. So I think that looks like a better block to put together. So that's what I did on that one. Just filled in these corners here so that we don't have those Y seams. All right, next block. Oh goodness, the next block. C5. This is Eye of the Cyclone, variation 2. I don't know about this one. I think if this section right here, that curve won't be so bad. And we have 4 of those, but in a sense we do have 5. We just have to alternate our colors right here. And actually we don't even need to alternate our color. We just need this entire section. So if we had an entire section with that background, we could applique that in. I just came up with that while I was showing you. Let's see what we can do to modify this block. So we would need to redraw it, but I can tell you right now, I can modify it where I take out this and this, so I can get a template of this right here. And then, I know it looks weird. That's not the way it's supposed to be. But if I can get this template, I can use it in these 4 sections where the white and the purple are. And then I can use this template to applique it onto that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So templates. This is what I'm talking about. I need this E template for over here, and then I can use this J template to applique inside of it. I don't even know if this is the one. It looks like it. Yeah. So I would applique the J into the E later. So I would need 4 of these. I hope you're following me. I didn't want to, I guess I could. So if I go back to draw, I can take out all of these. Well, I can take out all but one. So you can see better what we're going for, I guess. So this will be my applique, and it'll line up in here. So I just need one of these. And it'll be the same all the way around. And I will put together like A and E and A and F and C and F and C and E. I'll put those together, and then I'll just add a B to all of those and then applique that in. I hope you understand that. I just came up with that on the fly. But I guess when I put it together, you'll see what I'm going for. So let's print these templates out, and that is C5, variation 2 templates. I'm going to save over top of that, and then I can print it. So I can print these out, and if you're confused, I'll show you in the construction of the blocks what I'm going for, and see if you want to do it that way. Or if you want to go ahead and do all these little curves, you can. I mean, we all have our skill set, and that's not one of mine. So I'm going around my skill set. All right. So that's C5, variation 2 modified for me. Okay. I need to save that in there. It's already in there. Okay. So next block is H3 berry baskets, and that's what it looks like, colored, drawn, and print foundation, easy peasy foundation pieces. All right. So preview, that's what it looks like. Not many sections. We just have 4. So that one's not going to be too hard. And then our border piece. So this one is applique. And I am going to applique it. But I'm also wondering, I don't think I need to applique these. Well, I can see why you would, because if you're going to sew around them. But you could also just sew around the aqua here. So I don't know. I don't know if you need to put these wedges in. I think I might just applique the teal. But anyway, we need to print our templates. There's a lot of them. And it will kind of be puzzly putting together. So when I get to that, you don't need A and B. You don't need these. So when I get to that, I'll show you which ones need to be appliqued and how I'm going to do it. So we didn't get off quite so easy this week. But that's how it is. This isn't an easy quilt. We know that going into it. And we were hit with some challenging blocks this week. So let's see how we do. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and let's get started working on these blocks.
Let's get started on week 35. This is a block that is, for me, is going to be paper piece and applique. This curved section right here, this dark section, is my applique. So this white corner is going to be this triangle. So I'll put this entire corner together. I can even put the whole block together. Then I can come back and put my applique on. That's how I'm going to do it. All right, so what I have here is these dark triangles are the corners, or the inside corners. This one dark square is right here, along with this one white rectangle. And then the large triangles, like I said, are the corners, outside corners of each of these. And then these long rectangles are inside here. So I'm going to put one of these corners together and show you how I'm going to be doing that. I forgot to show you that I did print this template out right here. I copied it on the, or I traced it on this solid line on the inside onto my fusible webbing. Before I get started, here's the pieces that I did. I do have two white pieces next to each other. That's because I want that seam to be able to put my applique up against. So those are pretty easy to put together. All right, so what we have here is we're going to forget about this piece. We have 1, this is going to be 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to start with 1, which is going to be our large triangle. I'm going to put that over top of my 2 1/4 inch. It's off the paper on both sides, and then I'm going to take my long white rectangle and lay it next to it. It's off the paper. It's well over our seam down here. And so I'm going to now sew on this line right here between A1 and 2. There we go. There's the first 2 pieces. Let's trim for our third piece, which is going to be the dark triangle. There's my dark triangle. Line up my points. It's plenty big. It's off the paper over here. It's plenty past this. Line up my points. Now we can sew on the line right here, and I'm going to lock stitch at that point. All right, first 3 pieces. Now we can add our last piece. And this one will not be hard at all. Grab our short rectangle, line it up edge to edge. My seam allowances are right there. And sew on this line. I'm going to get everything trimmed up. We'll put it together, and then we'll get our applique on. Here's my trimmed up pieces. This is how they're going to get laid out. One piece with this white on it, corner, is going to go on top with this piece with no white strip, and then these 2 pieces with the white strips are going to be pointed this way with this little strip in between. And I did cut my applique to make sure it would fit, and it does. I will do this at the end, but I'm going to put my pieces together. And I think what I will do, this is ironed towards the white, so I'm going to add this piece and iron towards the white. And then down here, I'm going to iron towards the corners. So then maybe I can get some nested here. And then when I put my rows together, I'll see, I think I'll iron open. All right. I'm going to get that done and we'll come back and do some applique. So when I got over to the iron, I decided to iron towards the white strip in here because it's like that in every other piece except for this one right here. But anyway, I just decided to do that. I just thought it would kind of go with the rest of the block. But anyway, let's do our applique. And we want to line it up on our seam and have the points hit the edge of our center strip right there. And there we go. That's it's gonna look cool. Pretty easy to line up too. Most appliques aren't this easy to line up. I'm glad I kept that seam in there, and it's gonna be a cool looking block. There we go, got it ironed down. It's Melissa's cross, and I'm doing all my applique at the end when I get all my center blocks done. That's a cool looking block. Next is C4 Tic Tac Toe. This is what it's gonna look like. This is what I did in EQ8. All right, here's my pieces. This large rectangle are the inside triangles here. These longer rectangles are right next to it to form this green section of mine here. And then the squares I have are inside here. And then the tiny little white squares are also inside here. These longer white triangles are out here next to the big green parts, and then these smaller rectangles are right here, and then the two are the ones that are inside here also. So these aren't going to be hard. You're just building in a row and adding edges to it. So I think I'll do one of these side pieces and then we'll put it together. I got my pieces done. It did take a little bit of time. These little pieces do take some time. But they're really straightforward to put together. So here's the corners that I'm going to demonstrate. They turned out nice. And then these two singular pieces I have sewn my fabric to, and I will cut those out. All right, so to start with this piece, we're just going to be working from one side to the other. I know it's upside down. Let's do this. So from 1 all the way over to 5. I've drawn it out on the back here. Our number 1 piece is a light, and it goes off the paper. I'm put it 1/4 of an inch over the number 2 line, and then I'm going to add one of my green rectangles. And I just want to make sure it's past the point. You can see these coming down here. They're going to come to a point right there. All the pieces are. It's off the paper. What I did on the other ones was I sewed out here down the line, and then I did a lock stitch there so that you're not having to pull the paper up every time you're cutting. So on all of these, I'm going to be starting outside the seam allowance, coming down and lock stitching there until I get to the end, and I'll come out there. Anyway, first one, sew along here and stop in the point there. There's my first 2 pieces. You can see that I stopped right there. We need to trim for our 3rd piece. So our 3rd piece is actually a rectangle. You can make it a square if you want to make it, I don't know, if you're not as confident, but you know, it is a rectangle, so the short edge is going to go along here. I'm going to bring it down so that this edge is past where the points are going to meet, and it's off the paper over here. Remember, this is the short edge so that we have length when we flip it over. So I'm going to sew between 2 and 3, lock stitching at the point. There's our third piece. I forgot to mention earlier that my cut pieces are available on my website if you want to use them, and that link is down below in the description down below this video. All right, so now we can cut between 3 and 4. Grab my other green rectangle. Goes off the paper on both sides, over here and over here. Sew on the line, lock stitch down there at the point. There we go. Last piece to put on is our other white side. I'm going to trim it up. Take the white piece, just kind of center it on there. And now at this point I will sew from outside this seam allowance line, come down here. I will probably do a lock stitch there, and then you can come out here. And that will hold your paper or your fabric down here. There's our corner piece. I'm going to get all my pieces trimmed up. We'll get it laid out and we'll put it together. That's going to be pretty in my green colors. This is what it looks like laid out. We've got our 3 little pieces here to basically form our Tic Tac Toe that we have to put together, and then we'll put these 2 pieces on top to form the Tic Tac Toe square in the middle. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to iron towards these white strips is what I'm going to do. I have my center put together, and I went ahead and put one corner on just to make sure I have it down how I want to do it, even though there's not many other ways to do it. And it went great. So what I did was I took one of these sides that looks like this, lined it up on the side of my center, and then these points that are in here, that's what I sewed to. I started at this point and I did a little lock stitch, and I went over to this point and did a little lock stitch. So that leaves this area right here open. So let me show you now with a new one what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this out of the way, line this up, center it. There will be little tails on each side. So now I'm going to sew on this one from this point right here to this point, not beyond it. And you can feel this point is not going to sew into this piece that I have folded over either. So I'm going to go over and sew right here, and we'll come back and take a look at it. There's my seam right here from this point to this point. I want to iron towards this piece right here. So now these pieces are going to overlap. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just turn this corner, and I'm going to fold this in half right here. Turn this corner, line up our edges right here, these notches. Go over to our machine, and we're going to sew out here along this line and come right up to our sewing right here. Not beyond it or into it, just right up to it, lock stitch it there. So let me get that done and we'll take a look at my corner. Okay, there's my sewing on the corner. So when we open it, what I want to do on the back before we get started is you'll want to iron your seam that you just did open so that this center piece is going to lay flat around here. So iron that open, and that's what it looks like. I'm happy with it. So now we're going to finish off this side, which you'll have 2 edges to do. I've got it ironed down. That's what it looks like on the back, nice and flat. What I'm going to do with these 2 pieces, I'm going to fold them over, and I'm just going to clip them so they stay over. It's easy to hold one side down, but 2 sides is a little more difficult. I'm going to center this one on this side. Again, sewing from this point to this point, and I can feel that those points are not going to hit my edges over here. And then I'll come back and we can put the two edges, these two edges together, the sides, the mitered corners. I've got it sewn on my last side. You can see that I have that open corner and I have this open corner. So start over here again. Okay, let's try it this way. Got a lot of paper going on here. I could take the paper out if I wanted to. There we go. I got it folded. All right. Got my edges together. Want to go over and I want to now sew right here on this edge, starting from the outside, coming down right up to our previous sewing right there, lock stitch, and do the exact same thing on the other side, and our mitered corners will be done. There we go. Finished it up. My corners look really good. The back is flat. When you're ironing, you can kind of pull this corner back and just get in there and iron this flat, and then pull it back over top, iron it all down flat. I think it works really well. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I like my colors too. That's a pretty block. Next up is Eye of the Cyclone C5. So I went to variation 2 and then I modified it so that we aren't having to do so many curves out here. These right here, a curve here, a curve there. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do these 4 curves right here. And then I made it so that I have a triangle in the other 4 spaces, basically like a pinwheel. But then in the other 4 spaces, I'm going to applique this little shark fin, is what it looks like, on the outside here. I'm going to applique those on. So you can go back to my EQ8 in the beginning and see how I came up with this. Let me know how you're going to do it. That's how I'm going to do it. Not looking forward to the tiny little curves, but I just feel like that's how it will go best for me and my skill set. So these are my pieces. These are the shark fins on the outside that I'm going to be appliquing. You can see them over here better. So I need to pair. I did not mean to cut those. I don't need that. I cut them and I don't need them. I need to pair these two like this to get 4 triangles that will go together as an hourglass with these triangles. And these are all templates. I'm working off templates here. Your template letters may be different, but we basically have a pie shape and then this outer shape right here, and I have a triangle. So first thing I need to do is put these 2 together to get 4 triangles to be paired with this triangle. So I'm going to set all these aside. I know you haven't seen me make the block yet, but I have made it, and I went to put my applique down, and guess what? It's wrong. And what I did wrong was I didn't flip my piece over. I copied my piece right side up onto my fusible webbing, which goes onto the back of my fabric. So you need the other side to work with on yours. So we need to, just remember, you need to flip your template over and then trace it so that you can get the right direction for the applique. So I'm here before I show you how I make the block to remind you to do that. So I'm going to get mine redrawn and recut out, and we'll finish the block. I want to just clip about 1/8 of an inch on the inside of this curve. I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to find the centers of both, and I'm just going to crease to do that. Now that I have the centers, I'm using batik so I can put right sides together. I'm going to put my two creases together. Oh, this is going to be a tiny little curve. I hope I can do it. And I'm going to pin right there at the center. And then I'm going to pin on the edge over here. There's that edge, so now I need to pull this one over and pin on this edge. So when we look at the other side, I don't think whoops, I caught it. I could be regretting my decision. Okay. All right. I don't know that I need any in the middle because my notches help it go around this dark curve. So I'm just going to carefully go over to my machine with my 1/4 inch foot, make sure there's no wrinkles when I start, and start sewing, go a little bit, adjust my material in the back by scooching it like that, and then go forward a little farther. If I feel a wrinkle, I'm going to stop, needle down, scooch my back material, and keep going around. So let's see what it looks like. That's not perfect, but I'm going with it because it was difficult. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay over my triangle over top of it, and you can see it's just a little bit bigger, so I think I will use my template. I'm going to just cut that point off. That's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it turns out, but I just think it was really hard to get a true 1/4 inch on that tiny little curve. So I'm going to get these finished up. We'll come back and we'll do that, and then we'll go from there and see how it looks. Here's my pieces that I've done. This is the template I did for my other triangles. I'm going to use that on these pieces to try to trim it up, and I'm going to line it up with the white, and I'm going to trim the purple side if it needs to be trimmed. All right, I'm going to get these trimmed up, and then we'll put it together and see what it looks like. Hopefully it looks good. So, got these purple units finished. Basically, it's going to kind of be like an hourglass. We're going to put these corners together here on these edges, and then we'll put our corners together on this seam. And I will iron towards the white triangle in my case. And then we're going to put the 2 rows together, and I will probably iron that open. Here's my background piece. Makes a nice circle on the inside. Here's my appliques. They are going to go on the diagonal. They're going to line up with the point of this dark piece and that dark piece. And that's how you want to line up all of these. You may need to trim some. That looks like it has a point that's a little long. That looks good. And that point looks good. So I'm going to get this point trimmed up. I'm going to get these appliqued on, and there we go. Phew, okay. There we go. C5, Eye of the Cyclone. Outer edges are appliqued, inner edges were pieced. Applique lines up right with this seam right here, and the point ends up over here. So I'm happy with it. Looks like Dear Jane. So there we go. Not one of my better skill sets, but I feel like I did pretty good. Let me know how it went for you. Next up is H3 berry baskets. This is what it's going to look like. It's basically just 4 sections. These two are identical, just kind of mirror images, and then these two are identical. These two will be pretty easy. What I want to note on these outer edges is that I'm changing how I'm putting it, how I'm assembling it. EQ8's calling for this big white piece to be the second piece and this one the first. I'm swapping them out, so I'm going to do like a flying geese. So this will be the base, and then we'll add the corners and go to the edges. So that's what I'm doing on these if you want to do the same thing. So I think that I will assemble one of these here. And they are starting in different spots. And I don't know that it matters how you start over here and looking at it. So I think I'll just swap these two. This will be, whoops. I'll make this one number 1 and this one number 2. Just like this one. All right, so my pieces are these large rectangles are inside these flying geese, if that's what you want to call these pieces. They're the base. These thin rectangles are inside here. The squares are the outside corners. The large triangles are all of the triangles in here. That's right. And then the small triangles are out here, these little ones out here. So let me put together one of these centers, and then we'll put the whole thing together. And just a reminder that all my paper piece cuts are on my website, and you can find the link in the description below this video. So I want to show you real quick on these edge pieces how I'm starting them. Since I'm making this the first piece, I sewed my white base in the seam allowance here, which will kind of tack it down. So now I can go over to this side and I can trim for my first piece. And that just helps me get started. And then we can go from there. The rest of the paper piecing will be the same. So just wanted to show you how I get that piece started. Here's my 2 edge pieces, outer border pieces, outer row pieces. Here's one side of my interior section, and I found that I went and changed my cutting instructions because this A7 and this B7, the triangles I had cut just weren't big enough. So I changed it so that these 2 triangles are a bigger cut. So I have triangles for the inside and the flying geese, large triangle out here, and then my base of my flying geese and my 2 edges. So I changed it. So we're starting with this triangle right here, and then we're moving over to this white rectangle. So when I turn it over, that's how I have it set up. We're going to start with this triangle and move over to the 2 small rectangles, and then finish out our flying goose out here, and then add our large dark triangle. So we need one of these triangles. What I want to do is make sure that it's at least 1/4 of an inch over both 2 and 3. So I'm just going to line it up at the edge of 2, which is right here. Right here, seam allowance is out here, and then the other edge of 3, because that's about 1/4 of an inch. So that's how I'm lining that up. I want to take one of these thinner white pieces, and I'm going to line it up with the corner here of this one, because I know that's 1/4 of an inch past it. Now I can sew right here between A1 and A2, lock stitching at these two intersections. Okay, there's my first two pieces. Okay, let's turn it over and check my 1/4 inch. That looks good, so really nothing to cut there. I'm just gonna line it up on this corner right here. And it comes out past my seam allowance over here. All right, so now I'm going to sew right here, block stitching. Turn it over, we're gonna go to A4, which is the base of our flying goose, and we do need to trim. I'm gonna take my white rectangle and I'm lining it up from seam allowance to seam allowance. There's my seam allowance and there's my seam allowance. So we're going to sew on this line right there. There's the base of the flying goose. Let's see, A5 is over on this side. We'll get this side trimmed up. Grab another triangle. And I'm just going to line up the points here. So on this line right here, I'm going to repeat for this side, which is exactly like this one. And then we'll come back and do A7. Okay, there's my flying goose section. And now we can put on our number 7. This is where I made the change for the bigger triangles on the cut pieces. So our triangle needs to be oriented like this. So I'm just going to flip it over. And it's plenty big. So here's my seam allowances. We got plenty of room. I'm going to sew on the line right here, and then I'm going to get everything trimmed up and we'll put it together. Everything's trimmed up. This is how it's going to get laid out. We need to put these two center pieces together, and I think what I'm going to do is nest these two seams and then see where my edges turn out. So let's see how that goes. And it's perfect. So I'm going to get this sewn together here. I think I'll iron it open, and then all we need to do is put these outer rows on, and I think I'll iron that open too. So I had my blue triangles down here next to these pieces. It needs to be like this. Just want to come back here and let you know I did have it backwards. H3 berry baskets. That was fun. I'm liking my fabrics. I got a whole bunch of fabrics of different colors that had these same shapes in it. And I just pulled them all out this week. And that's what I've been using. I'm liking it. I think it's a good application. BR9 Sue's Garden. This is what it's going to look like. And if you're using EQ8, you know it's an applique. The thing with EQ8 is they also want you to applique this center white, that wedge right there that's in these 4 rows. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to let the background be the wedge. So I've taken my templates for each piece that's going to get larger and larger till you get to the top. So this is what it looks like, and we're going to sew them together like this. I probably could have cut just one big triangle, but what I want these seams, because that's where I'm going to set my applique pieces, is on the seam, so I know exactly where to set them. So that's how I'm going to build the background, is put these 5 pieces together. I've gone through and figured out which of these pieces in here, you can see them over here, need to be the color pieces, and then I went and traced them out on my fusible webbing. So in the last video I didn't do the right side of the template. I had to flip it over, if you remember. This one I didn't flip. I did this before I figured that out. That only means that like my H will be on the right and my J will be on the left. It's not going to have any bearing on how the block looks. So these are the pieces I need for my applique all through 5 rows of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these together to make my background, and it's just going to be sewing each one together. I'm going to iron it open, I think. Yeah, I'll iron it open. I'll have this ready to go. I'm going to get these cut out, and then we'll start figuring out where all these puzzle pieces go. I have my triangle built. I ironed my seams open. I have marked 1/4 inch from the bottom here, so that I can use this guide for my pieces. So I need H and J, which I have, and it's like I said, my H and J are going to be on opposite sides. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to lay them on my line, and I want to make sure that I have 1/4 inch over here also. The way the template's cut, these lines are going to run together right here. So you just want to make sure those are laying together. So that's how I'm going to do that bottom piece. I think what I'll do is draw a V right here so I know where my pieces go. I'm laying them down. It's easy right now because I don't have the paper ripped off. But once I have the paper ripped off, I'm not going to really know where to put them. So there's the V. Let's start with this piece. So I want to line it up with that V and with the line on the bottom. There we go. There's that one. That is ink that will erase with heat. Okay, here's my other piece. I want to line that up with all the lines, and there we go. There's my first piece. Second piece, I'm going to need K and M. I got K and M cut out, and again, mine are on opposite sides. M will be on this side, K will be on this side. I'm using my seam to lay these down and making sure that they are 1/4 inch from each side. If they aren't, you could probably just trim a little bit. So that's how I want to do these 2 pieces. I'm going to get these peeled off and get them stuck down. I'm going to do the next 2 rows exactly like these, and then we'll come back and do the top row. Here's the first 4 rows. Here's the 5th row, and these are such tiny little pieces. Again, mine are opposite of what's up here, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to line them up with that seam. And you just kind of push them together. I'm going to need tweezers to put these down, but anyway, that's where we're at. So these are going to be a little difficult to get down, but I'll get them down. I'm going to get it ironed. I'm going to get them fused down, and then this block will be done. Kind of a fun block for an applique. And there we go. BR9 Sue's Garden.
There we go. Week 35 gave us a lot of different things. We got applique. We got some Y seams. We got some curves and applique. And then just some fun paper piecing. And don't forget, more applique. So let me know how you did this piece. I know they wanted you to add in these wedges. I didn't do that. I just left the background in there. So that's how I did it. Let me know how you did it. If you're new here, you can share your blocks on social media and hashtag Dear Jane Quilt along or Dear Jane QAL and tag at Canary Quilts. And I will find them and I will share them. Also, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and we can have some fun. But anyway, let's populate my quilt. One of these days, we're going to fill in one of these rows. My photo quilt, I should say. This is my photo quilt. All right, first up, we got B11, Melissa's Cross. B11. C4, Tic Tac Toe. And then C5, Eye of the Cyclone. H3 Berry Baskets. And BR9 Sue's Garden is down here. Still haven't filled a row in. One of these days we are going to do that. Oh my goodness. I think we've got like 2 months left of just the center blocks, and then we're just working on the border blocks and the corner blocks. Wow. This is a lot of work. I am so proud of you guys for either keeping up or just working along as fast as you can on this. You don't have to go at my pace. But yeah, I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of myself. This is a lot of work, and it's not easy work either. So, but it has been fun. It's been a really fun journey to do all these different types of blocks. Anyway, I love hearing from you. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.